Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling a research paper that has really been making waves. And some have even called it the shot heard around the world for AI.
Wow.
So buckle up, everyone, because we're diving deep into attention is all you need. This paper didn't just tweak AI a little bit.
Right.
It revolutionized how computers understand language.
Yeah.
And honestly, it revolutionized everything.
Really, it's crazy how influential this paper has been. And,
Yeah.
what I think is so fascinating is that it was published back in 2017
Oh, wow.
and introduced this thing called the transformer model. And, you might not know the name,
Right.
but you've definitely seen its impact.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, think about all those, really good language translation apps.
Yeah.
Or how search engines just, get you now.
Yeah.
Even those chatbots that are, eerily human.
Oh, yeah, it's almost scary.
All of that goes back to this one paper.
Wow.
It's incredible.
So before we get too far down that road,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what was the problem that this paper was trying to solve? I mean, weren't there already ways for computers to process language? What was the big breakthrough here?
That's a great question. So before the transformer came along,
Okay.
imagine computers trying to read a sentence like they were walking a tightrope.
Okay.
And with each word they read, they were juggling another ball.
Okay. Right.
They used something called recurrent neural networks, or RNNs.
Uh-huh.
And they worked pretty well for short phrases.
Yeah.
But longer sentences really bogged them down.
So they could get the language,
Yeah.
but it was the complexity of a really long sentence that was the problem.
Exactly. So imagine you're trying to understand this sentence.
Yeah.
But the verb is miles away from the subject,
Oh.
and there's tons of words separating them.
Uh-huh.
These RNNs had to remember everything they read up to that point.
Oh, wow.
And computationally, it was just exhausting.
So it's they run out of space to remember everything.
Trying to juggle 100 balls. Okay.
You're going to drop something eventually.
Right. You
Yeah.
can't hold on to that many things.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's the researchers were forget juggling, let's teach the computer to fly.
That is a perfect analogy.
Uh-huh.
They introduced this radical new architecture called the transformer,
Okay.
and it uses an attention mechanism to process information in parallel.
Okay.
So instead of going word by word by word,
Uh-huh.
it can actually look at the entire sentence all at once.
Whoa.
Kind of like how our brains work.
Wait, hold on. Attention mechanism.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like we need to unpack that a little bit
Sure.
before we move on.
Uh-huh.
It sounds kind of like what our brains do naturally, right? I'm not paying equal attention to every word you're saying.
Right.
I'm focusing on the key ideas.
Exactly. Think about reading a news article.
Yeah.
Your eyes kind of dart around.
Right.
You focus on important
Yeah.
phrases.
Mm-hmm.
You skip over the less relevant stuff
Yeah.
that's attention in action.
And the transformer mimics this by assigning weights or scores to different parts of that input sequence.
So it's each word gets a score in a popularity contest,
Uh-huh.
and the transformer's the judge.
You got it.
That's really cool. And the scoring system that they use,
Yeah.
it's called scaled dot product attention.
Okay.
It might sound kind of intimidating,
A little bit, yeah.
but all it means is that the model calculates how relevant each word is to all the other words
Okay.
using some clever math.
Uh-huh.
And so what happens is the most important words get highlighted,
Okay.
and the less relevant stuff just kind of fades into the background.
So you mentioned multi-head attention earlier.
Yeah.
Does that mean that the transformer is paying attention to multiple things at once, like a superhuman multitasker or something?
That is a fantastic analogy.
Uh-huh.
It really is like having a team of expert linguists
Okay.
all looking at the same sentence but from different perspectives.
Oh, that's cool.
So one linguist might be focusing on the grammar.
Mhm.
Another one's looking at the sentiment. Another one's looking at the relationships between specific words.
Gotcha.
And this multi-headed approach gives the transformer a much richer understanding.
Wow. This is sounding less like computer science and more like a philosophy of language.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing how much complexity they packed into this.
It really is. And one of the most elegant parts of the transformer is how it handles word order,
Oh, yeah.
which is something that older models really struggled with.
Right. Because if the transformer's processing everything at the same time,
Yeah.
how does it know which word comes first and which one comes last?
That's such a good point, and it is important.
Yeah.
The researchers solved this using something called positional encodings.
Okay.
So think of it like they're giving each word a unique ID tag
Gotcha.
that tells the model where it sits in the sentence.
Okay, so it's like the ID tag is saying, I'm word number 1, I'm word number 2.
Exactly.
So it can keep the sequence information while still getting all the benefits of processing in parallel.
So they're kind of like having their cake and eating it too.
Yes.
Parallel processing for speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
But then they have these positional encodings so they don't lose track of where the word is.
Exactly. That's so cool.
It is. And this combination of innovations is why the transformer outperforms those older models by such a significant margin.
Makes sense.
But it's not just faster.
Yeah.
It's also just fundamentally better at understanding the nuances of language.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. So we've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But I really want to hear more about why this self-attention thing is such a game changer. What does it do that the old ways couldn't?
Well, first of all, it's just incredibly efficient.
Okay.
Remember that image of the computer like juggling all the balls on the tightrope?
Yeah.
Self-attention is like giving it multiple hands
Oh, wow.
to handle those balls.
Okay.
So it just makes the whole process smoother and faster.
In fact, the paper actually showed that the transformer could train up to like 4 times faster
Wow.
than those older RNN models.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's a really big deal.
Especially when you're dealing with huge amounts of data.
Absolutely. When you're dealing with mass data sets, that speed makes a huge difference.
So it's faster. But what about understanding?
Yeah.
Does self-attention make the computer smarter in any way?
Absolutely. It's much better at capturing those long-range dependencies that we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Because it can see the entire sentence at once.
Right.
It can easily connect the dots between words that are far apart.
Uh-huh.
And this leads to a much deeper understanding of the meaning.
So it's like it has an eagle-eye view of the whole sentence.
Exactly.
Instead of like trudging through word by word by word.
Yeah, no more struggling to remember what happened 10 words ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and there's one more advantage. Interpretability.
Okay.
Because we can actually visualize those attention weights. We can actually see which parts of the sentence the model is focusing on.
Whoa.
So we can kind of peek into the mind of the machine.
That's so cool.
Right? See how it's making decisions and make sure it's not picking up any weird biases.
So it's not just that it understands language better, but we can see how it's understanding.
Yes.
Wow. It's like we've opened up a whole new dimension of machine learning here.
It really is. And what's remarkable is that this impact of self-attention goes way beyond just language processing.
Really?
It's had this ripple effect across like all sorts of fields, from computer vision to robotics.
That's incredible.
And it's still inspiring breakthroughs to this day.
Okay, this deep dive is already blowing my mind, and we're just getting started.
Huh.
So now I'm dying to know how all of this attention wizardry translates into real-world results.
Yeah.
Like, did the transformer live up to the hype?
Oh, yeah.
Did it actually perform better than those older models?
It exceeded expectations by a long shot. I mean, the researchers showed that the transformer achieved state-of-the-art results on machine translation tasks.
Wow.
Just blowing those older models out of the water.
So they were right to be so excited.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge deal.
Yeah.
But what's truly amazing is that the impact goes beyond just translation.
Really?
It's being used in tons of different applications.
Like what?
Like text summarization, question answering.
Okay.
Even powering those superhuman-like chatbots we were talking about earlier.
So they didn't just solve, like, one problem.
No.
They created a whole new toolkit for understanding and generating information.
Exactly. It was a paradigm shift.
That's incredible. And I remember that they actually called out a specific application
Oh, yeah?
that really showed off the transformer's power.
You're talking about their work on English constituency parsing.
Yes. Tell me more about that. What is constituency parsing?
Okay, so constituency parsing,
Yeah.
it involves analyzing the grammatical structure of a sentence.
Okay.
So it's like taking a sentence apart, figuring out how all the pieces fit together.
Okay.
All the nouns, the verbs, the phrases, clauses,
Gotcha.
the whole shebang.
Yeah.
Now, this task traditionally required like really specialized models,
Right.
but the researchers decided to just see what would happen if they threw the transformer at it. And it worked amazingly well.
Wow.
Even on smaller data sets.
Okay.
The transformer got surprisingly good results.
Wow.
It even outperformed some of the specialized RNN-based models that had been designed specifically for this task.
So it's like they unleashed a multi-talented AI prodigy onto the world?
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. But with all of this success, did the researchers highlight any limitations or challenges in their paper?
Oh, of course. Every breakthrough has its limitations.
Right.
They acknowledge that while the transformer is super powerful,
Yeah.
it was still pretty new.
Okay.
So they pointed to some areas for future research,
Like what?
like exploring different types of attention mechanisms,
Uh-huh.
or finding ways to make the model even more efficient.
So even with all the achievements, there was still room for improvement.
Always. That's how science works.
Right. It never ends.
We're constantly trying to push the boundaries, you know?
That's so cool. So
Yeah.
the story of the transformer is far from over.
Yeah, not even close.
It's still evolving.
Uh-huh. Inspiring new innovations.
It makes you wonder what the next breakthrough will be.
For sure.
And where this incredible journey will take us.
Absolutely.
But before we get lost in the future,
Okay.
let's bring it back to the present and talk about how this paper has shaped the AI landscape that we see today.
You got it.
Because the impact of attention is all you need, is all around us.
It really is.
I mean, this paper laid the groundwork for all those massive language models we interact with every day.
Yeah. Think about it.
I mean, we're talking about AI that can translate languages seamlessly,
Yeah.
write different kinds of creative content, and answer our questions in a way that feels almost human.
It's incredible, but it's also kind of unsettling.
Yeah, it is a little bit, right? It's mind-blowing, but also,
It's a lot to take in.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really is.
It is.
But I think what's important to remember is that these are still tools. They're incredibly powerful tools,
They are.
but they're designed to augment human intelligence,
Yeah.
not replace it.
Not replace it. Exactly.
So it's all about how we choose to use these tools
Yeah.
and how we shape their development.
Absolutely. And speaking of shaping development,
Yeah.
one of the most impactful things that the researchers did
Yeah.
was make their code publicly available.
Oh, wow. That's unusual in like
Yes.
the world of cutting edge research, isn't it?
Very unusual, especially for something this groundbreaking.
Why do you think they did that?
I think it was a really brilliant decision.
Yeah.
By open sourcing their code, they basically invited the entire AI community
Wow.
to experiment and build upon their work.
So everyone could come play in their sandbox.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And that had this ripple effect that we're still feeling today.
I bet. So like what kind of advancements and collaborations came from that?
Oh, man. I mean, think about all the amazing language models that have come out since 2017.
Yeah.
Like BERT GPT-3, LaMDA.
Uh-huh.
All of those owe a huge debt to the open source foundation laid by Attention is All You Need.
Wow.
It's a perfect example of how collaboration and just sharing knowledge
Yeah.
can really accelerate progress in a way that you couldn't do if everything was closed and proprietary.
So it's like they planted a seed
Yes.
that's grown into this massive interconnected forest of AI innovation.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
You know, speaking of forests,
Haha. Yeah.
I'm starting to feel a little lost in the weeds here.
Okay.
Can we zoom out for a second?
Sure.
And talk about like, what does all this mean for everyday people?
You got... It's easy to get lost in the technical details,
For sure.
but the real magic is how it's impacting our lives
Yeah.
in ways that we may not even realize.
Okay, I like that.
Mhm.
So give me some examples. What are some real-world applications of the transformer that I might be using without even knowing it?
Well, think about the last time you used a language translation app.
All right.
The accuracy and fluency of those apps has just skyrocketed
Right.
in recent years.
Yeah.
And that's largely thanks to the transformer.
Oh, so that's how I was able to understand that crazy menu in Italy last summer.
Exactly.
I knew there was some AI magic going on there.
There was some serious AI at work,
Yeah.
but it goes way beyond translation.
Oh, really?
Think about those super smart search engines that
Yeah.
seem to understand exactly what you're looking for,
Okay.
even when you don't know how to ask.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that search engines have gotten way better
Oh, yeah.
at understanding my kind of rambling queries.
Yeah.
It's like they can read my mind.
They're getting pretty close.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about all the chatbots that are popping up everywhere.
Right.
The transformer has played a huge role
Yeah.
in making those chatbots more human-like. Yeah.
More engaging
Uh-huh.
and just more capable of understanding us.
So all of these different things are powered by the same technology.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
speaks to just how versatile and powerful the transformer is.
That's incredible.
Hmm.
But with all this power come some questions.
Of course.
I mean, we've been talking about all the great things about the transformer,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there are some downsides too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
What are some of the challenges or concerns that come to mind when you think about the future of AI?
One of the biggest challenges is making sure that these systems are developed and used responsibly
Okay.
as they become more powerful and integrated into our lives.
Right.
It's so important that we think about the ethical implications
Yeah.
and the potential risks.
Okay, like what? What are some of the risks?
Well, one concern is bias.
Okay.
Remember, AI systems are trained on tons of data.
Yeah.
And if that data reflects existing biases,
Mm-hmm.
the AI can actually perpetuate those biases,
Right.
which can lead to unfair outcomes.
Yeah.
It's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
If you train AI on biased data,
Yeah.
you're going to get biased results.
Absolutely. So we have to work really hard
Yes.
to make sure that the data sets we're using
Right.
are diverse and representative.
Yeah.
And we also need to be able to detect and mitigate bias in the systems.
Okay, so bias is one big one.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other concerns?
Another challenge is transparency
Okay.
and explainability.
Uh-huh.
As AI systems get more complex,
Right.
it can be really hard to understand how they're making decisions.
Yeah, like how do they get there?
Yeah, and this lack of transparency
Yeah.
can erode trust
Sure.
and make it difficult to hold these systems accountable.
It's like when you get a recommendation online
Yes.
and you have no idea why it's recommending that thing to you.
Or like when you get denied a loan
Yeah.
and you don't know why.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a big movement in the AI community
Okay.
to develop more transparent and explainable systems.
Yeah.
So that means creating tools and techniques
Mhm.
that allow us to kind of peek under the hood
Oh,
and understand how these systems are making their decisions.
that sounds really important, especially as these systems get more and more powerful.
Absolutely.
Okay, are there any other challenges that we should know about?
One final concern is the impact on jobs
Okay.
and the workforce.
Right.
So as these AI systems become capable of automating tasks that used to be done by humans,
Yeah.
there's a risk of job displacement.
Right. People lose their jobs.
Yeah, and economic disruption.
I mean, it's something that we really need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Like, are there solutions or strategies out there that you see for dealing with this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's a lot of work being done to develop ethical guidelines
Yeah.
for AI development and use to promote diversity and inclusion in the AI workforce.
Yeah.
And to explore new models of education and training
Sure.
that can prepare people for the jobs of the future.
So it sounds like the AI community is taking these challenges seriously
They really are.
and working towards solutions that can benefit everyone.
It's a big collective effort.
Yeah.
It requires people from all sorts of disciplines to come together and work on this.
So it's not just computer scientists?
No, not at all.
You need ethicists and social scientists and all sorts of people.
Absolutely. We need everybody.
Okay, so it's clear that the future of AI is going to be
Yeah.
very complex.
It will be.
It's going to be constantly evolving.
For sure.
But I'm hopeful that we can figure out a way to harness this power for good.
Me too.
But let's bring it back to the present.
Yeah.
And talk about what all of this means for our listeners today.
Okay, sounds good.
What can people listening to this do
Yeah.
to learn more about the transformer and AI and all of that? Are there resources you'd recommend?
Absolutely. The first and most obvious recommendation
Yeah.
is to check out the original Attention is All You Need paper. It might seem intimidating at first,
Right.
but it's surprisingly accessible.
Okay.
And it really gives you a glimpse into the minds of the researchers who started this whole thing.
We'll definitely include a link in the show notes.
Perfect.
What other resources would you suggest?
Oh, there are tons of great articles, blog posts, videos out there
Okay.
that break down the transformer and the idea of attention in really accessible ways.
Cool.
Just a quick Google search will give you a ton of information.
Mhm.
And if you're looking for something a little more interactive,
Yeah.
there are online courses and tutorials out there.
Oh, cool. So you can get hands-on with the tech.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll include links to those too. But beyond just reading and learning,
Yeah,
what can our listeners do to actively engage with these technologies?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
And shape how they develop. One of the most powerful things you can do is just be aware of the AI systems that are operating in your life.
Okay.
So pay attention to the recommendations that you see on social media, the search results you get on Google,
Right.
the chat bots that you interact with online.
Yeah.
Ask yourself how these systems might be using AI
Okay.
and how they might be influencing your decisions and your experiences.
So it's about being mindful and a critical consumer of technology.
Exactly.
What else? How else can listeners get involved?
Well, if you're feeling really ambitious,
Yeah.
you could explore some of the open source tools and platforms that are out there.
Right.
There are incredible online communities where you can connect with other people, learn new skills, and actually contribute to developing these technologies.
So we're not just passive consumers of this tech.
Right.
We can actually get involved and shape how it's used.
Exactly. We have a voice in this.
That's powerful.
It is. The future of AI is not set in stone.
Yeah.
It's something that we will create together.
Wow.
Through the choices that we make and our willingness to engage with these technologies in thoughtful and ethical ways.
And attention is all you need is a great place to start.
Absolutely. It's the perfect jumping off point.
Well, this has been an incredible journey so far.
It has.
And I'm feeling both inspired and energized by all the possibilities that are ahead of us.
It's a really exciting time.
It is. But for now, let's take a moment to process all of this amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And we'll be back soon to continue our deep dive into attention is all you need.
Sounds good.
And really explore some final thoughts and reflections on what the future of AI looks like.
Can't wait.
See you soon.
See ya. Welcome back. You know, it's amazing to think about just how much one research paper has really influenced the whole AI landscape.
It's crazy.
And one thing that really struck me about attention is all you need was how accessible the researchers made their work.
You're talking about how they made the code publicly available?
Exactly.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty unusual move in the world of like cutting edge research.
It's very unusual.
Yeah.
Especially for something this groundbreaking.
Right.
It was a brilliant decision.
So why do you think they chose to do that?
Well, by open sourcing the code, they basically invited the entire AI community to come and play in their sandbox, to tinker, to experiment and build upon what they had created.
Yeah.
And that act of generosity has had ripple effects that we're still seeing today.
Like what kind of advancements and collaborations came from that?
Well, think about all the incredible language models that have emerged since 2017.
Okay.
Like BERT, GPT-3, LaMDA, and so many others.
Yeah.
All of them owe a debt of gratitude to the open source foundation that was laid by the Attention is All You Need paper.
That's incredible.
It's a beautiful example of how collaboration and knowledge sharing can really accelerate progress in ways that just wouldn't be possible in a closed proprietary environment.
So it's like they planted a seed that has grown into this massive interconnected forest of AI innovation. It really is. It's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, it is.
But speaking of forests, I'm starting to feel a little lost in the technical weeds here.
Okay, sure.
Can we zoom out for a sec?
Yeah.
And talk about what all this means for everyday people?
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in all the technical details.
Yeah.
But the real magic of the transformer
is
how it's impacting our lives in ways that we might not even realize.
Give me some examples.
Yeah.
What are some real-world applications of the transformer that I might be using without even knowing it?
Well, think about the last time you used a language translation app.
Oh.
The accuracy and fluency of those apps have improved so much in recent years.
Yeah, they're crazy good.
And that's largely thanks to the transformer.
Oh, so that's how I was able to understand that crazy menu in Italy last summer.
Uh-huh, exactly.
I knew there had to be some AI magic going on behind the scenes.
Some serious AI power.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond just translation.
Oh, really? Like what?
Think about those really smart search engines that seem to understand exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Even when you don't know how to phrase it.
Right. Like even if I'm being vague.
Exactly.
They kind of know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, they're getting pretty good at that.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed that search engines have gotten a lot smarter.
They really have.
And we can't forget about those chatbots.
Well, yeah, the chatbots.
That are popping up everywhere.
Everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And the transformer has played a huge role in making those chatbots more human-like.
Yeah.
More engaging. And more capable of understanding our requests.
So all these seemingly different things are powered by the same underlying technology.
Pretty much. Yeah.
That's wild.
It really is. And it shows just how versatile and powerful the transformer is.
It does. But like with any really powerful technology, there are some questions that we need to ask.
Of course.
I mean, we've been talking about all the positive stuff.
Right.
But I'm sure there are some potential downsides too.
Yeah, there are definitely some challenges.
What are some of the concerns that come to mind when you think about the future of AI?
Yeah, so one of the biggest challenges is making sure that these AI systems are developed and used responsibly as they become more powerful and more integrated into our lives.
Right.
It's really important that we think carefully about the ethical implications and the potential risks.
Okay. Give me some examples. Like, what are some of the risks that we should be thinking about?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is bias.
Okay.
AI systems are trained on massive data sets.
Right.
And if those data sets reflect existing societal biases, then the AI systems can actually perpetuate those biases.
Oh, that makes sense.
And that can lead to unfair or discriminatory outcomes.
It's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
If you train AI on biased data,
yeah,
you're going to get biased results.
you're going to get biased AI, so we have to work really hard
Right.
to make sure that the data sets we're using to train these systems are as diverse and representative as possible. And we also need to develop mechanisms to detect and mitigate bias in the AI systems themselves.
So bias is a big one. What other concerns are out there?
Another challenge is transparency and explainability.
Okay.
So as AI systems become more complex, it can be really hard to understand how they're making decisions.
Yeah, it's like a black box.
It is. And this lack of transparency can lead to mistrust.
Sure.
And it makes it difficult to hold these systems accountable.
Right, because if you don't know why the system is doing something,
exactly,
you can't really tell if it's doing it for the right reasons.
Right. It's like that feeling you get when you get a weird recommendation online or you get denied a loan and you have no idea why.
You just have to trust that it's working correctly.
Right. But you have no way of knowing.
Exactly. So it sounds like there's a lot of work being done to make these systems more transparent.
Yeah, there's a huge push in the AI community to develop more transparent and explainable systems. And that means creating tools and techniques that allow us to peek under the hood and see how they're making decisions.
I can see why that would be important.
Yeah, it's crucial, especially as these systems become more powerful and more integrated into our lives.
Are there any other challenges that we should be aware of?
One final concern is the potential impact on jobs in the workforce.
Okay, yeah. This is something that comes up a lot.
Yeah, and for good reason.
Right.
I mean, as AI systems become more capable of automating tasks that were previously done by humans, there's a risk of job displacement and economic disruption.
So what can we do about that?
Well, there's a lot of work being done to address this.
Okay.
People are developing ethical guidelines for AI development and use.
Okay.
They're promoting diversity and inclusion in the AI workforce, and they're exploring new models of education and training that can prepare people for the jobs of the future.
It sounds like the AI community is taking this seriously.
They're definitely aware of the potential downsides, and they're working to find solutions that can benefit everyone.
It's a big task.
It is. It's a collective effort that requires collaboration from people across different disciplines.
So it's not just computer scientists who need to be involved in this.
Yeah, not at all.
Right, you need people from ethics, social sciences, and policy, and all sorts of fields.
Exactly. We need everyone to come together and work on this.
So it seems like the future of AI is going to be a pretty complex landscape.
It will be.
It's going to be constantly evolving.
For sure.
But I'm hopeful that we can navigate these challenges. And really harness this power for good.
Me too. It's an exciting time to be alive.
It is.
And to witness the unfolding of this technological revolution.
It really is. But for now, let's bring it back to the present.
Okay.
And talk about what all this means for our listeners.
Sounds good.
So what can our listeners do to learn more about the Transformer and AI and all the implications of these technologies? Are there any resources you'd recommend?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
The first and most obvious recommendation is to check out the original Attention is All You Need paper.
Yeah.
I know it might seem intimidating at first.
Right, so it's a research paper.
Yeah, but it's surprisingly accessible.
Okay.
And it really gives you a glimpse into the minds of the researchers who sparked this whole revolution.
Cool. We'll definitely include a link to the paper in our show notes.
Correct.
What other resources would you suggest?
Well, there are tons of great articles and blog posts and videos out there that break down these concepts in more accessible ways.
Cool.
Just a quick Google search
Yeah.
will uncover a wealth of information.
I bet.
And if you're looking for something more interactive,
Yeah.
there are online courses and tutorials
cool.
that can help you get hands-on with these technologies.
We'll include some links to those as well.
Great.
But beyond just reading and learning, what can our listeners do to actively engage with these technologies?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things you can do is to simply be aware of the AI systems that are already operating in your life.
Okay.
So pay attention to the recommendations you see on social media, the search results you get on Google, the chatbots you interact with online.
Yeah.
Ask yourself how these systems might be using AI and how they might be influencing your decisions and your experiences.
So it's about being mindful and being a critical consumer of the technology.
Exactly. Be aware of what's happening.
I like it. What else can our listeners do to get more involved?
Well, if you're feeling ambitious, you could explore some of the open source AI tools and platforms that are out there. There are really amazing online communities where you can connect with other people, learn new skills, and actually contribute to the development of these technologies.
Wow, so we're not just passive consumers of this technology. We can actually get involved and shape how it's used.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
It is. The future of AI is not predetermined.
Yeah.
It's a future that we will create together.
That's a cool way to think about it.
It is. Through our choices and our willingness to engage with these technologies in thoughtful and ethical ways.
And attention is all you need is a great place to start.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic jumping off point.
It really is.
Yeah.
Well, this deep dive has been an incredible journey.
It has been.
And I'm feeling both inspired and energized by all the possibilities that lie ahead.
It's an exciting time to be alive.
It is.
Yeah.
But for now, let's take a moment to digest everything we've learned and prepare for the final part of our journey.
Okay.
We'll be back soon to wrap up our deep dive into Attention is All You Need.
That's good.
And explore some final thoughts and reflections on the future of AI. Welcome back to our deep dive into Attention is All You Need. You know, Helmi, I feel like we've really journeyed through the inner workings of the transformer.
Yeah, we've gone pretty deep.
We've explored its impact on the real world. And we've even pondered the philosophical implications of AI.
It's been quite the adventure.
It really has. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I keep coming back to just the sheer audacity of this research paper.
Oh, yeah.
What do you mean by audacity?
Well, think about it. The researchers behind the transformer, they didn't just tweak existing methods.
Right.
They completely reimagined how computers process language. They challenged all these assumptions that people had held for a long time and dared to explore a radically different approach.
Wow.
And that one bold move led to a total paradigm shift in AI.
It's true.
A revolution that's still unfolding today.
It's crazy to think that one paper had that much of an impact.
I know. It's wild.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most groundbreaking discoveries come from questioning the status quo.
Absolutely.
And being willing to think outside the box.
Yeah, you got to be willing to challenge those assumptions.
It really makes you wonder what other revolutionary ideas are out there, just waiting for someone to come along and explore them.
Exactly. I think that's one of the most exciting things about the field of AI. It's constantly evolving, pushing boundaries, challenging our understanding of what's possible.
So it's like the Wild West of science.
Yeah, kind of.
It's exciting and a little bit scary.
Yeah, for sure.
And Attention is All You Need is a perfect example of that spirit of innovation.
Absolutely.
It's like they opened a door to a whole new world of possibility.
Yeah.
A world where machines can understand and generate human language like never before.
And with amazing fluency and sophistication.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
It really is.
And it makes you realize that it's really up to us to decide how we navigate this new world. How we harness this power for good. How we shape its future.
That's a big responsibility.
It is. So for our listeners who are feeling inspired by all of this and are eager to learn more or maybe even get involved in shaping the future of AI, what advice would you give them? Where should they start?
I think the first step is to just cultivate that curiosity.
Okay.
Stay informed about what's happening in the world of AI. Explore the ethical considerations. Engage in conversations about how these technologies are going to impact society.
Right.
There are so many great resources available online.
Like what? What are some good places to start?
There are news articles, blog posts, podcasts.
We'll be sure to include some of our favorites in the show notes.
Perfect.
Come.
If you're feeling really adventurous, you could dive into the world of open source AI projects.
Okay.
There are amazing communities online where you can connect with other AI enthusiasts. You can learn new skills. And you can even contribute to developing these technologies.
So it's a reminder that we're not just passive consumers of technology.
Right.
We can actually be a part of shaping its development.
Exactly.
And making sure that it's used for good.
It's a really empowering thought.
It is. And I think that brings us to the most important question of all.
Okay, shoot. What's the question?
What is the one big takeaway, the one lasting impression that you hope our listeners will take away from this deep dive?
That's a great question.
Right.
I think the most important message is this.
Okay.
Never underestimate the power of a single idea.
Wow.
The Transformers started as just a research paper,
Yeah.
a collection of thoughts and equations written down on paper.
But it changed everything.
It did.
No.
That one idea sparked a revolution in AI.
Yeah.
A revolution that continues to reshape our world in profound ways.
It's amazing.
It is. So to everyone listening, I say this. Embrace your curiosity.
Yeah.
Explore new ideas, and never be afraid to challenge conventional thinking.
I love that.
You never know. You might just be the one to spark the next AI revolution.
That is an inspiring thought.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into Attention is All You Need.
It's been a great journey.
It really has. I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this as much as we enjoyed making it.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep those brains buzzing and those curiosity fires burning.
Stay curious out there.
Happy deep diving.